Alright, down below there are some examples. So this is 3x on one side of the equation. There are 3 bars here. Each bar is an x. On the other side of the equation, you have 1 bar, so 1x. And each of those little squares represents 1 unit. So our first step would be to simplify. So that means combining like terms and distributing. But we can't do that here. 3x is a term by itself. We can't combine that. X plus 8 are different kinds of terms, and you can see you can't add a rectangle plus these squares, so you can't combine those like terms. So our second step would be to add or subtract the variable. So if you think of this as like a little balance scale and you want to keep everything equal, if you remove an x from one side and you remove an x from the other side, you're taking the same thing away both times, so your equation will stay balanced. If you're doing it with numbers and letters, we just removed or subtracted an x from each side. On this side, the x is completely gone. X minus x is 0, so we just have 8 little squares left. And on this side, we took away one of those x's, and there are 2 left. 3x minus 1x is 2x. And then if 2 x's represents 8 blocks, we could cut these in half and cut these in half and see that one of those is equal to 4. And this one is equal to 4. So we've just divided each side by 2, cut them in half, and you get x equals 4. This is our answer. If we wanted to check our work, 3 times 4 is 12. That's the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, 4 plus 8 is also 12. So when you plug in 4 for x, you get 12 on both sides. That's how you know you got it right. But our answer is x equals 4. Alright, one more example with pictures. So again, our first step is to simplify. This is 2x minus 5, that's already simplified, and this is 3x plus 3, that's also already simplified. So our next step would be to add or subtract the variable. On the left-hand side, we have 2 x's, so I'm going to take both of those away. If I'm taking away 2 x's on one side, I have to take away 2 x's on the other side. So we have removed 2 x's from each side. On the left-hand side, those are gone. We have 5 negative pieces left. Each one of these is negative 1. And on the right-hand side, when we take away 2 x's, we have 1 x left. 3 minus 2 is 1. And we still have those 3 squares. Then we need to get this x by itself, so we need to remove these 3 1s. So I'm subtracting 3 1s. There are no white squares over here to subtract, so it's like we're digging holes. We're making them negative now, so we can add negative 3 to this side. So we've removed 3 and made 3 holes. And now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 negative squares left, and 1 x on the other side. So x equals negative 8. If you want to check your work, 2 times negative 8 is negative 16, minus 5 is negative 21. Plugging in 8 on this side, 3 times negative 8 is negative 24, plus 3 is negative 21. So I plugged in negative 8 every time I saw an x. I saw that each side separately equals negative 21. So I know our answer is right. All right, are there any questions so far? Yeah.
If you subtract the variable on the right side, and it's like bigger than the left side, what would happen?
Nothing. So like if we ignored this and we wanted to solve this problem, I said subtract 2x up here. It's not wrong to subtract 3x. You could do it that way. 2x minus 3x is negative 1x. And then we would add 5 to both sides. So negative 1x equals positive 8. And then divide both sides by negative 1. And x equals negative 8. So that's fine. You can do that. Even on this one, we said subtract x from both sides. If you wanted to, you could subtract 3x. It's not wrong. It's just you don't usually do it. 3x minus 3x is 0, so you would have to write down 0 on that side. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. And then we want to subtract 8 from both sides. And then we would divide by a negative 2. And negative 8 divided by negative 2 is still 4. So if you subtracted your variables in a different order, you would still get the right answer as long as you solve the rest of it correctly. The reason that we subtracted 2 on this one and subtracted x on this one is it was keeping that x term positive. And it's always easier if we work with positive numbers as much as we can. But it's not wrong to do it the other way. Other questions? That's a good one. Okay, flip it over. A few to try on the back. You guys are going to do these two on your own. Distribute first. And then subtract x from each side. And on this one, combine like terms first, and then subtract x on each side. While you do that on your own, I'm going to work it up here very, very slowly so you can check your work as you go and see if you're making a mistake. So I'll give you a few minutes to get started. So hopefully you distributed properly. And then remember your next step is to add or subtract the variables. Yeah, so just up here, combine that terms, simplify. And we'll do the same thing to just these two. It doesn't really matter, but if you want to think of it that way, and just always change that. That's fine. right, hopefully you got -2 for this first one. When you're combining like terms, you have to treat each side of the equation separately. So on the right-hand side, your like terms are -6x and -4x. And then on your left-hand side, your like terms are -15x and -3x. So check and make sure you combined your like terms correctly, and then go ahead and try and solve the problem. On this next step, you could add 18x, and you get 10 equals 8x plus 8. Or instead, you could add 10x, and you get -8x plus 10 equals 8. Either way is okay. You'll get the same answer in the end. Remember, 2/8 can be simplified to 1/4, so our answer will be x equals 1/4. Are there any questions about these two? Okay, on example 3, there is a fraction there, and I told you how to get rid of fractions. What should I do to get rid of that 5? We're going to multiply every single term by 5. If there is more than just that one fraction, we would have to find the least common multiple. But this one's easy. We're just going to multiply both sides by 5. 5 times -1/5 x is -1x. 5 times -15 is -75. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times -9 is -45. All right, what should I do next? Go ahead. So we can add the 1 to both sides. We could have subtracted 5x. That would have been okay. So let's just try and keep things positive. So -1 plus 1 is 0. This is -75 equals 6x minus 45. Then what do I do? Good, Noah. Add 45 to both sides. -30 equals 6x. And our last step will be dividing by 6. Yeah, sorry. All right, what should I do first on example 4? hasn't answered yet. Christian, what do you think I should do first? You can take a guess. Good. We want to multiply both sides by 3 to get rid of this denominator. 3 times 3 is 9 times p. These canceled. We're not distributing that 3. This is 3 divided by 3. They cancel. And we have negative p plus 5 left. We need to get our variables together, so we're going to add or subtract them. Which one should I do? So we have variables on both sides. We want to get the variables together, so we don't want to mess with the 5 right now. How could I move this negative p? Add. So we're going to add p to both sides. 9 plus 1 is 10. And then what's our last step? Divide by. Good. And if we look at this, 5 over 10 is our fraction. That fraction is our answer, but how do we simplify it?
1/2.
1/2. Divide the top and bottom by 5. Alright, and the last one, our denominators are 3, 5, and 6. What is the least common multiple between these three numbers? 30, good. So we're going to take 30 and multiply both sides of this equation by 30. Usually, when your test day comes, you guys are pretty good at finding the least common multiple. And the mistake that you will make is you will forget this x. So this is 30 times x, which is 30x. 30 times negative 5/6 is negative 25. And then on this side, 30 times 2/3 is 20 times x. And 30 times 7/5 is 42. So, don't forget you're multiplying every single term, not just the terms that have fractions in them. Don't forget about this x right here. This is the part everyone forgets. Don't make that mistake. Alright, we want to add or subtract our variables to get them together, so what should I do? Subtract what? Okay, subtract 20x. You could subtract 30x, that's not wrong. We're just choosing 20 this time. 20 minus 20 is 0. We have a 42 left on that side. 30 minus 20 is 10, and that was our x term, minus 25. Vera, what should I do next?
You should add 20.
Good. Add 25 to both sides. Negative 25 plus 25 cancels. That's 0. So we have 10x plus 0, or just 10x. Sorry, that's a bad 5. 42 plus 25 is 67. Good. And what's our last step? Awesome. This right here is a fraction. This fraction is our answer. That fraction cannot be simplified. So x equals 67 over 10. If you wrote 6.7 on your test, I wouldn't be that mad. But you should always try and write things as fractions. Not improper fractions, not 6 7/10. 67 over 10. What questions do you guys have?